We're barely aware of it anymore, but our lives are dependent on a digital world that operates unseen, in parallel to the one all around us. Being wired has changed the way we do everything, but also means new vulnerabilities. So what kind of people seek to disrupt it, and what motivates those who try to protect it? There's often little difference between the hackers and those who track them. So is it time to include hackers in our plans to protect the nation from emerging cyber threats?
I think the same people that make very good malicious hackers can also be very good non-malicious hackers.
I prefer to look at the skills that these people may be bringing rather than putting labels on those skills.
It would be highly beneficial to recruit hackers, especially at a corporate level, but they're just scared to do it.
There's a wealth of talent underground. Not the place that industry and the military would ordinarily look for new recruits, but they may just have the skills we're going to need. Perhaps the most notorious of recent hacking groups sprang out of the Anonymous movement, a jokey offshoot called Lulzsec that came to worldwide attention in the summer of 2011. At first, Lulzsec hacked for laughs, targeting large corporations and the media. Jake Davis went by the name of Topiary. He was their quirky spokesman and shaped their online image. Mustafa Al-Bassam, known as T-Flow, was the most skilled hacker of the group, and at 16, the youngest. When they turned their hacking skills against law enforcement, most of the members of Lulzsec were eventually tracked down and sent to prison. Some are now free and thinking about what to do next with their lives. Those who've been immersed in the world of hacking talk about it being exciting, even thrilling, about an intellectual stimulus that's hard to beat. So is it ever possible for a malicious hacker to turn their skills for good? Is there such a thing as hacker rehab? Lulzsec hacker Mustafa Al-Bassam was convicted in April this year, but given a suspended sentence, and is now studying computer science at university. The computer forensics expert whose evidence helped convict him was David Day.
And you as well.
Hi. How was your journey?
I was okay. I'm a bit weirded out.
We brought hacker and tracker together. This is the first time they've met.
So what was the most interesting thing you found on my hard drive?
I found lots of interesting things on your hard drive, but maybe some of the more interesting things I'm not sure I want to talk about now. I found pretty much every website you looked at. I found loads and loads of files which you probably thought had been deleted. I found them in system information folders in a place where they'd been hidden away.
So was it sort of thrilling for you to look at someone's almost life record?
Honestly, a little bit. A little bit. You can't see it, right?
He was looking for evidence that Mustafa and the anonymous hacker T-Flow were one and the same. He doesn't condone anything that Mustafa did, but can't help admiring his programming skills.
I don't know whether you're even aware that you were more skilled than most at being able to do those things. So it makes me wonder what your motivation was for doing it.
Well, I suppose being a teenager at the time, one of the biggest motivations was the ability to use basic technology to embarrass major corporations and people in authority. That was sort of a thrill as a teenager. There.
In simple terms, it was just for fun, for kicks, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Sort of like solving a puzzle or problem solving. When you complete the problem at the end, you do get quite a sense of achievement.
Do you know, that's exactly the same feeling that you get when you're doing forensic work as well.
I think what was more important, for Lulzsec at least, was showing the world how these major corporations weren't following basic security.
One of Mustafa's co-defendants in the Lulzsec case was its PR man, Jake Davis. We last spoke to him before the case came to court.
I don't feel like a criminal. I just feel like a kid that put his creativity in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Jake spent 37 days in a youth offenders institution in Feltham in West London. Now he says the time he spent offline had a bigger impact.
I think the experience that changed me was the 2 years being banned from the internet, electronically tagged to my house. A strange combination. The 37 days in Feltham, it was interesting. It gave me some good perspective on where our youth end up when they've done what the state perceives as wrong.
He's turned away from hacking and is leading a very different life, working in film distribution.
The same kind of parts of my brain are being stimulated in the same way, but this time they won't. You know, you get paid at the end of the month instead of being sent to Feltham at the end of the month.
We're often told there's a shortage of people with skills in information security to protect corporations, the military and government computer systems from attack. The MOD is even calling for cyber reservists, a sort of geek version of the territorial army. But is anyone likely to sign up, and should former hackers bother to apply?
Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
At the Ministry of Defence's multi-million-pound communications centre in Corsham in Wiltshire, specialists from all three forces, Army, Navy and Air Force, work together to keep the nation's military communications systems secure. Cameras are rarely allowed in. Each screen we filmed had to be individually vetted. This is the key centre that operates and defends the UK's military networks worldwide. And it's also where some of the new Joint Reserve Unit will be based and trained. And the hope is to employ people who are not only from elsewhere within the military and defence, but also from industry and people who are not necessarily traditional military material. Lieutenant Colonel Michael White is the commanding officer of the new reserve unit. He said the kind of people they're looking for are in short supply, so they'd have to be open-minded when recruiting. So if somebody was, had a slightly quirky personality but was very good at computing, you might still consider them.
We'll look at the individuals in the round as they apply, we're looking really at the capability development rather than setting hard and fast rules about individual personal traits.
I mean, if somebody came to you, they did have a criminal record for hacking, but they had all the other skills that you were looking for, you wouldn't necessarily rule them out.
I think if they could get through that security process, then if they have that capability that we would like, then if the vetting authority was happy with that, then why not?
Simply building cyber defences is not enough. We also have to deter. Britain will build a dedicated capability to counter-attack and, if necessary, to strike in cyberspace.
This was the first time that Britain's approach to cyber threats had been spelt out so clearly, that we'll not only defend against attacks, but potentially launch our own. But the government may find it hard to attract the talented individuals it needs if former hacker Mustafa Al-Bassam is typical.
So if you had the opportunity to take up a role or assist in trying to prevent threats to the nation's security, would that be something that you'd be interested in using your skills for?
For me, that would be in poor taste, because I can understand the need for a government to protect itself, but when you go ahead and stomp on everyone's civil liberties, as we've seen with all the mass surveillance stories that have broken out over the past year, I think you can be rest assured that you're going to repel talented people.
The stereotypical hacker mentality, often anti-establishment, may not fit neatly into government institutions. And there's heightened sensitivity after high-profile leaks, such as those by insider Edward Snowden, the intelligence contractor who revealed details of secret mass surveillance by US and UK agencies. So taking on former malicious or black hat hackers could be seen as high risk.
If you're a black hat hacker, you obviously have some sort of ideology, some sort of inset kind of belief, and the type of people that would hire that are afraid of that because there's another Snowden situation. They don't want discrepancies in anything. So yeah, it's ironic again. It would be highly beneficial to recruit hackers, especially at a corporate level, but they're just scared to do it. So it's.
But are they right to be scared? From what you're saying, maybe they are.
Depends on the hacker.
It can be particularly difficult to get a job in industry after you've been, at least after you've been convicted of malicious hacking, which in certain situations for certain individuals is a terrible shame. If they have those abilities and those skills, some of the best talent we can't use.
Would you employ a former hacker?
That's tricky. That's very tricky. I think it would have to be every case on its merits.
You've met Mustafa today. Would you employ him?
He seems like a really nice lad, and he's obviously clearly very talented. I might.